Alright, let's see how this goes. I've been messing with the light and the lighting for literally an hour. Hopefully it'll be alright. And probably longer than that. I've been trying to get this lighting situation set up so there isn't glare off the stone when I have a light colored piece of stone. So I think this might work. And that, you know, I want you to be able to see the flake scars easily. Alright. This is a heat treated piece of stone. I tested it a little bit first already. And it works, it's pretty good. I've got some other pieces heat treated. If this one breaks, I'll just use this one here. Okay. I can't see it in the viewfinder, but maybe you can see that. Now I've been doing a little bit of abo napping off camera for the past few weeks, but not very much at all. Just a little bit. So I'm getting back into practice as I'm doing the videos, like always. I would like to spend, you know, several days before each video so I can already be in the hang of it. But it's very difficult to find the time to do that. So I usually prepare maybe 1 hour before each video. I'll do 1 or 2 pieces before each video and then film once I get the hang of it. But lately I've been just turning on the camera and just starting from scratch. Like today, this is the first thing I've napped today, so other than a couple of pieces I just broke off camera. A couple of pieces I broke earlier as I was messing around with the lighting and stuff. Anyway. This is an excellent quality stone, but I'm not doing it justice. I mean, this is beautiful stuff. I don't know if you can tell, but it flakes very, very well. It's heat treated. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm sure you can tell. With a little more prep, I could do these platforms better and send some better flakes across. Because right now I'm getting a bunch of these steps. It's getting kind of late too. Very dangerous to be hitting on the tip because I can split it right in half. But it's so tempting to hit that platform. It's so tempting to be hitting these platforms, but they're a little bit off, so I'm not getting much to travel there. I could hear something crack in there, so I'm going to trim off in the other direction a little bit first to see what happened. See if anything weird happens here. I still have plenty of cortex. I got to skim that off eventually. I'm going to use some indirect percussion here. I'm afraid to be hitting really hard on the front here, on the tip. Just cleaning up the edge a little bit. excellent stone when you can get those long flakes. Okay. Now someone asked me before what these were. These are indirect percussion flakers. In that video where I show all my tools, that latest one. All right. This is where I had some issues before when I was trying to adjust the lighting. I couldn't see when I eliminated the glare by changing the lighting. You know, by eliminating the lighting directly on the piece. There's no glare for you guys, but I can't see what I'm doing. So I've got to get some kind of good compromise here. Alright, so the way I do these flakers is I try to make them so that I can turn them as I'm flaking. Alright? Now before I had one that was bent. If you have a bent piece of tine or an antler, you can't be turning it too much, right? But this dowel allows me to do that easily. And I'll be working on this design more as time goes on. I think I'm going to lengthen these out because I'll buy some more antler and stuff, and a couple of guys have offered to send me some antler to experiment with, so I'll be using larger pieces of antler for these flakers, so I don't have to be I don't have to be concentrating on hitting a very narrow portion of this, because it's kind of distracting. If I hit too far forward, I might hit the workpiece, and if I hit too far back, it'll have an odd strike on this part here. I've got two of these. One is really heavy, and this is flat. I haven't used this one yet, but I stored them. Well, I don't know if I start all of them this way, but I like to flatten to see how that works first. And if it doesn't work, I'll round it off. But this one you can see already has the pith showing through, because I've worn down the tip so much. And you know, as you dress it, you can start to see the pith in the middles. But the outside, around the outside, is still very hard. So it still works. It just sometimes will collapse inward, and it'll take off a big chunk. I'm going to be doing some really hard hits that I actually should be doing with a hammerstone, but I'm going to see how it works with this. I switch off a lot between different tools, especially with abo. I'm just messing with the edge because I know eventually I'm going to have to run some flakes on this side here, so I'm just, you know, basically lowering this edge toward this and testing out this hammerstone. This is slightly different from the other one. This one's a medium grade. It's actually pretty hard, and this one is in between soft and medium. I believe this is limestone, but it's a hard limestone. It's not like chalk. And this brushing is just to knock off the thin edge. Of course, you can always abrade too, you know. This is a combination of abrading and brushing. Sometimes you get little step fractures, you know, that like this. But I see these on artifacts too, so I know that that's what they were doing. So the edge was still fairly sharp, you know what I mean? Hit right there. It's still fairly sharp. I didn't abrade it a lot. But you've got to kind of experiment with it, with your antler, to find out how sharp it needs to be to catch the antler properly, or for the antler to catch the edge properly. Yeah. And you know, I thought that was going to go further, but as I get used to it, it'll work better. And it can't be all crumbly when you are ready to strike. You know, as you put the tool on there, it can't be all, you know, crumbly and or should I say, it can't be starting little bitty flakes. You can't hear any crunching noises before you start, because that's a bad sign. It won't be able to grip the edge enough to send us a large flake. It's got to be quiet. Put on here, you can't hear any crunching before you actually hit. So that's what this does here. You know, you brush the edge with the stone to get it more resistant to that crushing, because you've already taken off the weak stuff. And I do put some, like here, I have a feeling I'm going to need a lot of pressure beforehand, so I'm just adding some pressure. I want it to seat firmly, so I'm adding some pressure. Usually I don't. Usually it's like this much, maybe just enough to get it to sit on there, but this one I'm adding a little bit extra. Didn't go anywhere. I just peeled off the platform, which happens a lot, you know. The platforms get peeled off completely. So I just move over to a different area. All right. Yeah, you can see that flake traveled very well. Very thin, but it did travel. You know, I kind of wish it was deeper, but I'm not complaining about it. Deeper would have taken more of that thickness off, but it's fine. This is working pretty good, but it's getting worn down really fast. See what I mean? So, you know, I prefer to have the ability to turn it around like this to find a good clean area for these important hits. And this is elk antler here. I think these are both elk antlers. And hopefully you can see how high I'm putting this up on the platform and the angle that I'm using. Hopefully. And I don't know if you can see the way I'm putting this on the platform, but you know, sometimes I angle it like this. It kind of gives it a sharper approach. If I hit it like this, I'm hitting it like this. And I wish that lighting would be better. Let's see. Alright, let me get this set up for you. This next hit I was going to do this, so I'll try to give you the view that might be useful to you. See what I mean? And sometimes I hit like this, sometimes I hit this way, or anywhere in between. You know what I mean? Hit down, or I hit down like this. Usually I hit kind of at an angle. It reduces the surface area that I'm hitting with. It reduces the surface area of this. So instead of hitting, maybe this way would work. Well, I don't know. I'll review the video and see what I need to do to show that better. And I adjust this instead of adjusting this. When you're pressure flaking, you will adjust this here, okay? You'll do this thing here, but when you're indirect punching, you're going to move the workpiece. Okay. Pretty obvious, but some people might get that confused, or you know, wondering how important it is to move this or keep it rigid or whatever. I'm getting ready to do a lot of flakes, so I'm preparing many spots. Oops. Got to be very careful. It's very easy to remove too much of the edge. I want to try to keep it as wide as possible. Doesn't do much good to send long flakes in if you're going to remove lots of the edge. Mistakes. But I got a big flake from the other side that ran across and took them off. You get kind of used to what you can do as time goes on. Sometimes I take shortcuts. I don't prepare as well as I should. But if you've been watching my videos, you know that. But I get a lot of new viewers, and they'll say, why do you sometimes prepare and sometimes you don't? Is there some kind of strange knowledge there where you can know when to take a shortcut or when not to? And the answer is no. I just take chances. I take a lot of chances just for expediency's sake. Not with really important flakes, but just these, you know, these I don't know what kind of flakes you would call these, or just general shaping. Shaping of the thickness, not the outside. Not the outside edge, but the shaping the thickness and the face of it. Some of these strikes are very important, and I'll prepare those better. In theory. If I don't blow away the platform from the opposite side, like I just did there. See, it reduces the thickness, the width. You don't want that to happen. You get a dip in there. You want as much width as you can preserve. That's why I like punch work, because you can punch on a very small platform and achieve good results. Achieve a nice big, wide, or long flake. Now see, these are very important flakes to take to thin this mass. Now you can wait till much later to do that if you're not confident that it'll be strong. Like if you start getting it really thin at this stage, you're not going to be able to run a lot more thinning flakes, because it'll already be way too thin, and you'll have to beef up, you know, take back the edge, beef it up, and run thinning flakes. A lot of guys will thin it very early and then make a nice, neat but delicate edge, and then try to power in really long thinning flakes on a thin piece. It doesn't work well that way. These really long thinning flakes and these big flat ones are best done when it's still thick. And then you just go with the flow after that. Sometimes you're not going to get a straight edge. Sometimes it'll be, you know, a little bit wavy because you're waiting until the end to remove these big flakes. But that's the way they used to do it in the past. A lot of them were conservative and left quite a bit of thickness until the very end. You know, like you could do the base right now, you could do the notches and the stem right now and leave the blade thick just for safety, right? And then once you got the base done and the stem and all that, and the barbs shaped just right, then you can come back and knock some big flakes across here and finish up. But it's already 31 minutes. I'll continue on the next one.